3-2 Gunner, high in the air to right field. Look out below. Basayo's first home run at Camden Yards is a game winner.
Yo, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Orioles Theory, your number one-stop shop for all things Baltimore Orioles related. I'm Tyler Barbaras, your creator and co-host of O's Theory. Joined by me, as always, is Clay Selgin. Clay, obviously we're going live right after the Orioles lost 7-6 killer in Anaheim. So what are your vibes right now? What are you feeling? We're going to dive into that. But before we do, let me give a quick shout out to our sponsor, O Squared Residential Design. Look, we know what it takes to build a winning team, and O Squared knows what it takes to build winning spaces. They're a woman-owned, family-operated company right here in Maryland, specializing in kitchen and bathroom renovations. Whether you're looking to restore, replace, or completely remodel, they deliver excellence in every square inch. Serving homeowners across the state of Maryland. Check them out at osquaredesign.com. That's osquaredesign.com. All right, Clay, lead us off here, man. 7-6 loss in extras to the Angels. The O's fall the series after they just won a series against the reigning defending champions, LA Dodgers. What's going through your head right now?
It's just never going to end. I mean, I left work today and the Orioles were up 5-2. Sammy hit 2 homers, and we'll get into it. But I mean, this is the 10th worst loss of the year, and it's June 25th, June 24th. I mean, it's miserable at this point, Tyler. I mean, there's so much you want to say, but it all goes back to we had a rested bullpen today. So, pulling Trey Gibson early when there was no need to do that because you have the off day tomorrow. Now, you put yourself in a situation where Keegan Aikens, your lone and only hope going into the 10th inning. And it can't happen. I feel like that's been another phrase of the year. It just can't happen. But I don't have much to say. I mean, if we're keeping this PG and keeping this the way it has to be said, I mean, I'm speechless at this point.
Yeah, and it's hard not to be, considering the fact that we were up 5-2. We had a great second and third inning. Basayo back-to-back innings with a homer. Trey Gibson was cruising. You're expecting for him to, throw into the 6th inning. He was only at 66 pitches when he got removed, I believe. And I have a list of things that I could say played an impact in this blown lead and the loss, and I tweeted it. The multiple errors. I mean, Blaze had 1, Gunner had, I think, 2, and Gunner's error in the first inning ultimately costed the team 2 runs because Jorge Soler hit that home run. And then additionally, not scoring since the 3rd inning, that is always an issue. You need to have constant run production. It's kind of like cash flow, right? Like you want to have constant cash flow. You want to have constant run production. You don't just want to, get a big check for $100,000 in November and then not get paid again until July, right? You want to have money coming in every month. And for the Orioles,
they want to give me $100 million in November. I will shut my mouth till July.
Well, I will definitely do that too. But I was just using it as an example because it's what good is there if you can't score runs in the final 6-7 innings of the ball game? And we saw that tonight. And then additionally, trusting Rico Garcia in the 8th after a god-awful month. Now, I wasn't opposed to bringing him in during the 8th inning. I honestly think it was the right call, but it's like, at what point do you try and play your chips differently? And do you put Tyler Wells in the 8th or Cano in the 8th when they have been better pitchers this month? Going Kittredge over Helsley for the final out in the 8th inning, I thought was silly. You pay a guy $14 million a year to get you big outs like that. And there's no excuse to make as to why the $14 million man couldn't pick up 4 outs instead of 3, and he looked great today as well. So it just seems like a bunch of overmanaging by an unexperienced manager and a lack of pride by the players and a lack of effort by the players. And that's kind of been the theme for the Orioles all season. Anything to add on that, Clay?
Yeah, I mean, you really look at it. They brought up 2 weeks ago or a week ago that Cal Ripken's kind of being hands-on nowadays with fielding and player development and make sure these guys are playing. You brought in Mike Schilt for this reason, to help out the organization from a structural perspective. And obviously it's not working. I mean, it's not to say it's their fault. It's not. I mean, these guys are Major League Baseball players. They need to be able to do what they're supposed to do. I think about the air with Blaze when Blaze cut off Gunnar on that ground ball. I want to say it was the 3rd inning. I mean, it's simple plays like that we've been making since we were 8 years old. That that's the shortstop's ball. I mean, and I get it's heat of the moment, stuff happens, but it's little things like that, and the little things will come back to bite you. I mean, the ground ball on with 2 outs, up by 1 in the 10th. I mean, Keegan Aiken. Nobody's getting over to cover first base on a weak grounder. That was the game.
Right. Pete's got to get there.
Pete's got to get there. That's not Pete's ball. That ball was never Pete's ball. First thing he should have been doing was running to first base.
I agree. Now, I don't want to come here and knock Pete Alonso because he kept us in the game. Fire. He had a fantastic game, and he's been a Gold Glover at first base. But this is the 3rd time the Orioles have lost a game like this in the 9th inning. Or, I mean, the 9th inning or extras when they've been walked off because of a defensive error. The first one being in Pittsburgh with Anthony Nunez, or I believe that was in the 8th inning. Anthony Nunez, 2 outs, runner on 3rd, completely kicks the ball, which would have been a routine ground out to the pitcher, toss over to first. That's 1. Then you have the Kobe Mayo error down in Miami. That's 2. Now you have this. That's 3. The Orioles are what? 6 games behind or 6 games under 500. If you win 3 of those games, you're only 3 games behind now. And it's small things like that have just been adding up. And we've said this many times on this show, Clay, is that fundamentally sound baseball teams win games like this. And I've been saying too, good teams like when we saw the Orioles do the whole extra inning walk-off spurt at home about a month ago, I was like, good teams win games like that. And they were doing that. And it just seems like today could have been another one of those instances where you win a pivotal game 3 when you're up 5-0 and you get a series victory. But it all comes back to the fundamentals. And that's why the Orioles lost this game on top of the poor managing from Craig Alvarez. And it just seems like an ongoing trend right now for the O's, and it's going to be tough for them to gain momentum after losing a series to the worst team in the American League. Anything else you have to add about this game? Then we'll move on to the actual script on some things that I do want to talk about.
Yeah, nothing much more to add. I mean, we pretty much covered it. I mean, you look at games like today, games like yesterday, really. I mean, you look, Shane Baz had the horrible first inning, but even then we didn't get a hit till the 6th. I mean,
12.8 ERA Ryan Johnson had, and those can
Ryan Johnson had a 12 ERA. We couldn't get a hit. I mean, it's
disgusting.
It's little things like that. I mean, it's just it's like you said, Tyler. You want to give them the credit when credit's due, but then at the same time, they're not a good team, and I hate saying it. It hurts me. I want this team to be successful, but when little things like this continue to happen, it's a trend, and the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing over and over, thinking it's going to change.
Yep.
That's been this team since July of 2024.
And the funny part about that too is that definition of insanity fits how I feel as a fan. I'm like, oh, the O's won 3 in a row. They're going to get it going. And they keep on losing 2-3 games after that. And that's what insanity is. Thinking that it'll change when it just keeps on happening over and over and over again. One thing I do want to talk about real quick, though, is Gunnar Henderson. He's been having a better month of June. Gunnar Henderson usually turns it around in June. But at what point does your franchise superstar, quote unquote, get you that clutch hit in the 8th, 9th inning, extra innings? He hasn't done that all year. He didn't do it last year.
The only time I can think of him doing it was that homer off Huascar Brazaban when he was a Marlin 2 years ago. It was like the
Yeah,
eighth
he had
inning
that
against the
home run
Marlins on a
against the
Friday night.
Rockies. He had the homer against the Rockies in the eighth to, I think, give
I
us
mean, it's yeah, sure, it's
lead.
1 or 2 here and there, but I mean, Tyler, I mean, go back to the playoff games. He sucked in the playoffs too, and this isn't a dig at Gunnar. It's just it's something to do with the organization that's just not. There's just not something that's not right. I mean, these guys like Taylor Ward come in, and you know what? Taylor Ward's homers are down, but Taylor Ward's on base percentage over 400. Pete Alonso started slow, got it going, and now he's putting up Pete Alonso numbers that we all know and expected. These guys that are coming from outside the organization, Blaze Alexander, he's hitting 300. These guys that are coming from outside of the organization are the ones that are contributing and producing. Yeah. It's the question of why is Gunnar not producing to what he's capable of, or even close to what he's capable of? Because he's hitting 230. That is not even close to what he's capable of.
No.
Adley Rutschman, yeah, sure, we're getting the best Adley Rutschman we've seen in a couple years, but this isn't the 1-1 that we took. Heston Kjerstad, I mean, he had the health issues, but it's been enough time now and sample size that he could have been here. We went and outsourced, signed Tyler O'Neill.
It's an issue. It's a systemic issue that they haven't been able to overcome. And I'm not going to come here and say, like, yeah, I'm not paying Gunnar Henderson $400 million. I mean,
no, because I would.
You would, but at the same time, it's like, as the year continues to go on, this is gonna suck what I'm about to say, but as the year continues to go on, and as the O's continue to struggle to find consistent, or when they struggle to play consistent winning baseball, they haven't been doing that. At what point do you just say, okay, we can probably get a crap ton for Gunnar and continue to be competitive? Because you have other guys like Basayo, like Beavers, like Adley, like Hauser. You can build around Alonso, Holiday, maybe even. I don't know. Like, at what point does that thought go through Mike Elias's mind? Because if you're not going to get an extension done, it's looking very unlikely. You probably should trade him, and that's just the reality of baseball. I mean, they did that with Manny Machado.
I said it when you were in Greece. It's me and Jake took 10 minutes at the end of the episode that Sunday before you came back. It was, you know, at some point, you know, you got the lockout coming next year. You got the way this year has looked. Gunner's up in 28.
It's got to be more talked about.
Are we going to wait till 2028 to trade him? You know, he's hitting the open market. It's not signing an extension. The Orioles could offer him $500 million. Scott Boras is not going to do it. It's not going to happen. Adley Rutschman. Adley's a free agent at the end of next year. Are you seriously going to? And what I mentioned, I mean, we talked about this with Freddie the other night. You know, Michael Elias is at the point where, you know, it's sink or swim with him. And I'm not even making this about Michael Elias, but this tenure, we're in year 8 in the middle of a window. If you have to sell again at a deadline, something's got to drastically change.
I agree. The one
are
thing
you gonna risk losing next season with the lockout and not getting anything for Adley Rutschman, Dean Kremer? Then we'll get into that, you know, talking about the rotation. But are you really gonna risk that?
And the thing is, Clay, is that you could trade away Gunnar, but it doesn't mean you're rebuilding. I mean, like, you would get MLB ready players if you were to trade someone like Gunnar Henderson. Like, you could still compete. Like,
you could trade Gunnar to Seattle and get any of their starters. And that's just an example. But you can
trade him for Michael Harris. And now you have your center fielder for the next half a decade. It's like there are many players that you could trade Gunnar for, and this isn't an overreaction. I'm not saying trade Gunnar or don't extend him.
And if it's an overreaction, it's warranted.
Yeah, it's not. It's just reality. Like, you have a player that you haven't been able to win with consistently. You have a player that he hasn't been able to produce consistently. At what point do you guys just cut your losses and try and get a win in the return that you would get for a player of Gunnar Henderson's caliber? And I'm not saying to do it. Like, I don't want people to be like, oh, Tyler thinks they should trade Gunnar. No, but the thought of it is going to become a lot more serious if this team can't turn it around quick. And that's what I want to get to here, Clay, because I do want to move. But I'm sure we will have further conversations about Gunnar
I'm
Henderson's.
sure we'll have a YouTube episode about it where we just sit
Yeah.
for 20 minutes and talk.
I'm sure. And if the Orioles, like I just said, don't turn it around quickly, it's going to grow increasingly likely that the Orioles could potentially trade him, not maybe at this year's deadline, but maybe in the offseason or next trade deadline. I'm not saying we should do it, but it is definitely an increasing possibility. But with that being said, I talked about how the Orioles have to turn it around quickly. And on what day did we record? We recorded Sunday. On Sunday, we kind of broke down the road ahead. You have an upcoming series against the Nationals, who are no slouch, against the White Sox, who are no slouch, against the Reds, who are no slouch. These are gritty teams. You need to win some of these. You need to win all of these series, every single one until All-Star break, maybe with the exception of one series loss. And you have time. You have, I think, 6 more series to go, 5 or 6 more to go. You got to win all but one of them. And you probably have to get a sweep in there at least once. But the one thing I will say about this team right now is that while they seem healthy, they really aren't, and there are still players that are on the injured list or that are on rehab assignments that could produce for this team when they return. And one of those players is Dylan Beavers. Obviously, he had a oblique injury. His rehab assignment, he will be at Norfolk on Tuesday, so he's getting closer. We should hopefully see Beavers by the start of July. And that's a player that you have missed his bat. You have missed his production. His outfield defense isn't great, but it's probably better than what we have now with Leote. I don't think he's honestly been a very, very poor defender this year. And he's just another lefty that you can bring in for platoon situations as well. So I think Beavers, when he comes back, hopefully the offense can start to have that constant flow of production that I was talking about in earlier. And they won't get shut out for 6 straight innings anymore. Like, hopefully Beavers can be that guy that gives them a little bit of a jolt. And then a few more guys too, Dean Kramer and Cade Povich. Kramer with the quad injury, Povich with the elbow. Kramer is expected to continue down in Norfolk. I'm sure he'll get maybe 2 more starts there. And then Povich as well. He's staying down in Chesapeake. He had a pretty good outing the other day. He'll probably go longer in his next outing. Then if that goes well, he'll be up in Norfolk, and then hopefully he can come back to the major league roster. So you're having guys that can come back and can hopefully help you. Like, it would have been great to have Dean Kramer out the bullpen today if Craig Alvarez wanted to pull Gibson early and go a bullpen game, right? Or Cade Povich. But these 3 guys coming back could hopefully help. But it brings up the question, what does the rotation look like if Povich and Kramer are back? Who is the odd man out? Because Chris Bassett, too, he's injured. I would hope that he isn't back in this rotation at all this year. But out of Boz, Bradish, Rogers, Gibson, and Young, it does seem like Gibson is the odd man out, which I think is foolish. So what do you think this Orioles pitching rotation will look like once you get Kramer and Povich back?
I think Dean Kramer probably replaces Trey Gibson. I think that's not a crazy thought.
No, it's not.
I think Cade Povich, honestly, is either going to be just kept in AAA or he's going to come up and replace Albert Suarez as a long reliever. I think it really depends if the Orioles want to keep him stretched out or not, especially with an elbow injury. I honestly would be fine with him just being a long reliever in the pen and just making sure that elbow really is okay. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't shock me if Trey Gibson sent down and he got his cup of joe this year, and then, they let him just kind of work and he comes back in September, barring injury. But I think bringing Dean Kramer back into the fold will be good for this team. I don't think it necessarily makes them world beaters, and it won't make them much better. But, when when Alvarez doesn't even trust him to go deeper into the game today, I mean, you can say that you're trying to get your bullpen work and the bullpen's rested and you don't want him to go through, a third time, but that just screams to me, read behind the lines. I mean, they don't trust him to go through a lineup 3 times.
Right.
If you're trying to call back into a wild card race, you're not going to start a guy knowing that you're going to have to use your bullpen for 5 innings out of the game. Dean Kremer, I mean, as much grief as I will give him, you can usually count on him for 5 or 6 innings. It'll be 3-run ball, 4-run ball, but you'll get your 6 innings. You'll get everything you need. So I think that will be fine as a 5 starter. I think the other 4 are kind of at a point where it's, kind of untouchable in a sense in the rotation. I mean, you're not obviously Bradish, Rogers, Boz, you're not, and Brandon Young, you're not moving them. I mean, you brought up, and we'll talk about this. You brought up whether Shane Boss should have an opener. Shane Boss has a 6.75 ERA in the first inning. That's a perfect role for Cade Povich to maybe go out there and throw 2 or 3 innings, and then Boss.
Just going to say that.
I think that's the perfect combination, and I wouldn't shock me. And I think having that, and then I would split it up in the rotation where, I would have Boz go, one day, and I would say 2 days in between, and then you have Kremer or whoever go, have whoever go that you're going to say, okay, who do we think is going to need a long reliever? Maybe Trevor Rogers. I mean, if Trevor Rogers gets deep in counts and all of a sudden a couple walks and he needs to be out by the 5th inning, spacing out those Cade Povich appearances. I mean, there's something strategically that you can do.
And I think with the current state of this Orioles bullpen, with guys that have inflated ERAs like Andrew Kittredge, like Keegan Aiken, like Albert Suarez, why not give a chance to Cade Povich as a reliever, as a guy that could give you 2 to 3 innings in relief every 3rd day or every 4th day? That's what we thought Tyler Wells was going to be, and he's starting to, cruise into form a little bit here in June. But why not do it again? Because it seems like Craig Albernez loves, pulling guys early. I still thought Shane Boss could have gone another inning yesterday to rest the bullpen more because we were already down and out. He had 91 pitches through 5. Why don't just give him the 6th at that point? He throws 105 pitches. Who cares, right?
Analytics. It's analytics. It's the Microsoft Office, Microsoft Excel. It's a story as old as time, and we joke that I talk about the front office or analytics too much, but analytics run this team. Analytics runs baseball nowadays. It's a problem. Back in the day, Bobby Cox isn't pulling Shane Boz in that situation. Buck Showalter's not pulling Shane Boz in that situation. You say, you know what? You pitch every 5 days. You're going to go out there and pitch till your arms fall off. Right. And I'm not saying that needs to be the situation, but this softball BS that these guys can't go through a lineup 3 times. They can't throw more than 90 pitches. I mean, what are we doing, Tyler? We're 6 games under 500, and your bullpen stinks. If Shane Boz is going to retire 12 out of 13, you let him go for 15 out of 16.
1,000%. And what I find comical too at points with the front office and even coaching and even managerial decisions by Albernez is that, Keegan Aiken, he's a 3-pitch pitcher as a reliever, and he doesn't throw faster than 90 or higher than 95 miles per hour.
Throw hard, his balls don't move.
Right. Aiken. Why not give Cade Povich, who has 5 pitches, the opportunity
some funky stuff
to be a reliever? He has a higher strikeout rate. His best pitch is better than Aiken's best pitch. I'm talking about that kick change. Then he also has the curveball. Why not give Povich an opportunity to be that lefty, right? Or why not let Kramer be your long relief guy instead of Albert Suarez, who you DFA every other month? It seems like this team is just so stuck in their ways of old that they're not adapting to the new. And that is why I think the Orioles are 6 games below. One of the many, many, many reasons why they're 6 games below. The fundamentals aren't there. They're still so analytically driven when, dude, if a guy looks good, keep him in. Like Trey Gibson, keep him in. There's no excuse to pull him. He threw the best inning of his major league career the inning prior to when he was pulled out the game. Why? I would love a legitimate explanation. And if any of the viewers are scrolling through Twitter and they're seeing Craig Albernez's post-game interview and a reporter asks him a question on why he pulled Gibson so early, please comment it down below and I will put it on screen and I will read it because I'm so interested to see what the decision-making process was there. And it's like Billy Bean in Moneyball telling Art.
It's Michael Ives' favorite movie.
Clearly, it's
He
genuinely
just turns it
like,
off
no.
when Scott Hatteberg hits the homer.
Right, like, no, you're gonna play Hattenberg. Oh, you're not. Okay, we're gonna trade Pena. Like, come on, dude. Like, it's childish, and the Orioles, they just seem like a team that has been so stuck in the past,
And Tyler,
and they've been a bad
let's
baseball.
not mention, we talk about help is on the way. Where's Dietrich Hens? Where's
Right?
Dietrich Hens at?
I
Why
love
is
Dietrich
Keegan
Hens.
Aiken still here? We've been saying this for 6 years. 6 years we've been saying, why is Keegan Aiken on the Major League roster? I just looked it up because I was trying to make sure that Dietrich Hens hadn't gotten hurt in AAA. I didn't realize he was 35 years old.
It doesn't matter how
No,
old he is.
obviously it doesn't matter how old he is. That just
Right,
blew my
he's
mind. I
in
thought he was,
baseball. I mean,
late
Albert
20s.
Suarez is 35, but front office
these
has
guys
a
are
hard on
fossils.
for him. Yeah.
These guys are fossils, and it's not about age. I just couldn't believe how old he was. But I mean, I don't know what the analytics say about Keegan Aiken. It's the same thing I said 3 years ago about Ryan McKenna. There was no analytics saying that Ryan McKenna was of any value to this roster. And I mean, obviously, there's been few and far times in between that I've ever agreed with Michael Ives. But at what point is he going to say, you know what, these guys are costing me my job? At what point is he going to look at himself and say, you know what, if Keegan Aiken's going to have a 5 ERA and I can't trust him to go get 3 outs, why is he here?
One thing I do want to say about Keegan Aiken is that he looked good today. The way that the Angels scored was just complete defensive malpractice. I mean, like, Basayo trying to tag a runner, and by the way, did he not go out the baseline, like, clearly? Like,
That's
what,
another
like,
story of the Orioles season.
yeah, Justin genuinely just said it. Was the Angels guy out of the base path? I remember watching the game. As soon as I saw that Basayo was trying to tag, I immediately turned the other way, walked upstairs to get ready for this. Now that I'm thinking about it again, I'm like, did he not run fully out the base path? Oh, but you want to know what's funny? We couldn't even challenge it because Craig Abernez blew his challenge on Blaze Alexander's slide to
I
home.
want to mention too, we blew our, the Angels used their challenge that when Tyler O'Neill slid into home plate Monday night that that he was out and whatever he was. But why was Craig Abernez? I don't give a shit how many runs were up. Why are you in the dugout laughing? Why are you not thinking, hey, wasn't he blocking the plate? Why are we not challenging that? Because let's not forget when you blew a 5-run lead to Toronto earlier this year. Shit happens. Let's not forget you blew a 5-2 lead today. Shit happens. But hey, at least we're having fun in the dugout laughing, and Miguel Cairo and Craig Albernaz are having their giggles. What is this? Like, it's at the point where I know this team sucks. I'm just trying to get to September. This is the team that brings me happiness. That's all I want. The Orioles disappoint me constantly. We're going to sit here. We're going to talk about who deserves to be an all-star. None of them. You're 6 games under 500. Win some goddamn ball games, and then we can go talk about who's an all-star. I mean, I mind my language, but
no, we're not even going to talk about all-star anymore. I just didn't.
We don't deserve it. We don't deserve all-stars. The only guy that deserves to be an all-star is Brandon Young, because he's the only guy on the roster that this year that wasn't supposed to be here and said, you know what, I'm going to work my ass off. And these guys are going to talk about me and say, hey, I earned it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame to me that MLB teams have to have one all-star, because this team should not be rewarded for any of the bullshit that they've done for the last 3 years. And I'm sick of pretending that this is all right. It's not.
Yeah.
My worst nightmare is happening in front of me. This team hasn't won a World Series in 43 years, and we're worried about Trey Gibson not being able to, go through a lineup 3 times.
Right.
That's our concern. Not why are these guys that went top 5 and Gunnar Henderson is still a first-round pick. Why is Gunnar Henderson hitting 230? It's not, we changed the coaching staff. We're on our 3rd manager in 2 years now. Obviously, it's not coaching, and the coaching staff we have now isn't exactly helping. But what is this organizational issue? Where did David Rubenstein go? Why is he not throwing hats anymore? Why is he not out in the crowd? The only guy I'll give credit to is Cal Ripken. At least Cal Ripken has the balls to sit front row every night. Shout out Cal Ripken. He cares. Cal Ripken cares about the Orioles.
He's trying.
David Rubenstein's collecting a check. Michael Elias is collecting a check. He's going to look nice and comfy in Denver next year if I get my way. And I know we weren't going to talk about Elias, dude, but you can't have games like today and then sit here and go, well, what's the problem? When the outlier problem is the organization. It's an Oriole issue. The Orioles aren't playing the Oriole way anymore. This is why you brought in Mike Schilt. This is why you have Cal Ripken being hands-on.
They really
There's
need
a systemic issue, Tyler.
There is, and I'd be very interested to see Mike Elias address the media sometime soon. Like he rarely does it. I would love for him to talk about his deadline approach, his draft approach. I will be attending MLB All-Star Weekend through the MLB Fan Council. I'll be at the draft and a lot of the events, and I'm interested to see if Mike Elias is there, if he's talking to media, what he's saying.
I worked the All-Star.
It'll be fun.
All-Star event last year. It was incredible. I met Rob Manfred, and funny enough, as much as I think he's a bad commissioner, I thought Rob Manfred was one hell of a guy. I'll say that. I shared a beer with him. Really cool.
Oh, look at that. Well, I will not be sharing a beer with Mike Elias, that is for sure. But I don't want to stick too much on, the bad things that are going on this team, because everyone knows that the Orioles just aren't playing good baseball. They're not playing consistently good baseball. They play great baseball for 5 days, then they play shitty baseball for 5 days. It's like
the most bipolar team I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's Kobe Mayo. He'll play great baseball for 5 days, awful baseball for the next 5. And Trevor Rogers, he'll play great baseball for 2 months, awful baseball for the next 2 months. They're like the Ravens in a sense, to where when the offense plays great, the defense can't play great. And when the defense plays great, the offense can't play great. There's a play going on in Baltimore.
At least the Ravens find a way to still win.
The Ravens find a way to still win, and I'll be interested to see if they can continue to do that without Harbaugh, which I'm sure they will. But it's a Baltimore thing, dude. Like choking, losing in devastating fashion, not being able to close out games. And I mean, like, I would like if the Orioles had Felix Bautista, they're probably at 500 right now. Like a healthy, prime dominant Felix Bautista, they're probably sitting dead at 500. But the reality of it is that Ryan Helsley was out for over a month. Adley Rutschman's been on the IL and off the IL, then on the IL and off the IL. You have a rookie manager who never had any head managing experience prior to his call up and rise through the MLB. He was a minor league manager. It just seems like this team can't
and answer the question, Tyler. Answer the question. Why did they hire a rookie manager?
I can't tell you. I mean, like his accolades were very impressive, and he was highly touted. Like, it's not a guy that you hire and then you're like, oh, I don't like it. Like his.
No, I mean, I was all in on it, but
we both were.
I was all in on it because I knew that they weren't going to hire an experienced manager. You're supposed to be in the middle of a window. You're not supposed to hire a rookie manager.
Like,
you know what? And it's different. It's different what the Ravens did hiring Jesse Minter, because it's a completely different thing. I mean, these guys, these coordinators, it's just a completely different world.
Right. I agree.
When you're talking about baseball, I mean, I've said this for 2 years. Terry Francona should have been your guy. Terry Francona, I mean, he got the Reds to the playoffs last year, and Terry Francona was, I mean, what else do you have to say? I mean, this guy has such a resume. This guy brings winning out of these guys. And when you've spent, going back to 2025, when you've spent a year and a half not winning, not playing to your potential, the answer shouldn't be, let's go to the rookie manager. It should be, let's find a guy that's going to, make a play. And, I think what ruined that more recently was the White Sox hiring Tony La Russa. But sure. I also don't blame the White Sox for hiring Tony La Russa.
Look at them now. Like it's not
Tony La Russa. Tony La Russa was wrong place, wrong time. Honestly, wrong roster. It's the same thing when when Juan Soto was a Padre. I mean, Bob Melvin was not meant to coach that team. I don't really know who could have got that team to be successful. maybe Alex Cora, maybe, I don't even know, Dave Roberts. It would have taken the best of the best to get these guys to play that way.
The one thing I will say about the whole manager cycle is you brought up the White Sox. They had Grady Sizemore as their interim manager, and then they hired Venable, I think his name was,
San Diego
from
Padre legend.
And this is his second season. I think he took over midway through last season. But and this is my one small defense on Albie, which is why I'm not completely sold off of him yet.
I'm not sold off either. But
neither am I. And it's because a guy like Venable comes in, he has half a season to know the players, understand their personnel, how they like to operate in the box, off the field, and you start to build that relationship. This first half of the season is kind of like Alvarez figuring it out. How they look post All-Star break, heading into the trade deadline, those final 3 weeks building up to the trade deadline, or 2.5 weeks, that will paint the whole picture as to whether or not this team is a playoff team or not.
100%.
And that's why, I made a tweet. I was like, Craig Alvarez is day by day losing me, and he is day by day losing me. But it's not like I'm one of those guys where I'm just so turned off by him, because I think his pedigree is very impressive. I like what he stands for. He's a family man. He's young. The players seem to want to play for him. They like him, but the production isn't there, which is why I'm waiting another month to make my decision as to whether or not I think Alvarez can lead this team back to the playoffs and to have playoff success. And I think these next couple weeks are going to be extremely telling. We have foreshadowed it throughout the whole entire season, Clay. The month of June and July are going to be the slum months for this Baltimore team. They're going to have to make it out the mud if they want to be successful. And right now, it's not looking like they will be. But I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit, because there still is optimism in the back of my head, because this team is so damn talented. I know they are.
Yeah, they are. That's what's so angry.
It just has to gel, how it did in 23 and the start of 24. But at the same time, we have now gone through 2 full seasons, half of 24, all of 2025, and now half of 2026. 2 full seasons of just sub 500 baseball.
Mediocrity. But
at what point do us fans say this team was one of the best teams in baseball for 2 years, and now they've been one of the worst teams in baseball for 2 years? What side are you taking?
What point is the window closed?
Are you taking the optimistic side or the pessimistic side?
Well, Tyler, I'm gonna play the pessimistic side, because
you kind of have to. You have to protect yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But we bring up Will Venable, we bring up the White Sox, and the difference between Will Venable and Albie, and I think Albie's going to be a great manager. I'm not questioning that. He's a rookie manager. He's going to make mistakes, and we've said that all year. We've foreshadowed that.
Bad mistake.
But the difference with Will Venable and Craig Alvarez right now is Will Venable is kind of in that Brad Pitt and Fight Club role, where when you have nothing to lose, you have everything to gain. The Chicago White Sox were meant to be barn
They're hungry, bro. They're hungry.
They're a hungry young team fighting. These guys are fighting to be Major League Baseball players. They got 26 guys fighting to be Major League Baseball players. The Orioles have 26 guys, and 16 of them have first-round pick or accolade next to their name. And it's these guys aren't hungry. And we talk about what's missing. Maybe it's hunger. These guys aren't hungry. These guys don't. Maybe winning isn't important to them. Maybe it's getting paid. Maybe it's whatever it is. They're not hungry. The White Sox, they have guys like Kyle Teal. I mean, Kyle Teal's a top prospect, but these guys are coming up and contributing, knowing that, you can be run out of this game at any time. Baseball, and I tell people this all the time, whether it's, whether you're 16, 14, 18, 20, 40 years old, being told you can't play a child's game anymore is the worst feeling you will ever feel in your life. I've been told that. I had to have elbow reconstruction surgery. It's the worst feeling in the world. Those White Sox, these guys, the Colorado Rockies, they've screwed me 3 straight games that I've bet against them. they have a bunch of guys, whether they stink or not, they're fighting for a role. They're fighting for a contract next year. The Orioles have got guys that were like, well, Gunner's hitting 220, but we'll still pay him $400 million. Why not?
He could hit
And they know
180
that.
and
They
maybe
know that.
he'll get paid or $100.
He'll get paid whether it's Baltimore or 29. There's 29 other teams that will give Gunnar Henderson whatever the hell he wants. There's 29 other teams that will give Adley Rutschman anything he wants under $90 million. And it's a lot of money. So what are these guys hungry for? Who is hungry? Blaze Alexander. He's 25 years old. He's fighting to be in the big leagues. He's in 300. Brandon Young fighting for a contract. Trevor Rogers. He's had his ups and downs, but
Kyle Bradish proving that he's a good pitcher post elbow surgery.
It's the guys they have their trials and tribulations, and they have to, like you said, Tyler, make it out the mud. And they're finding a way. But the guys that the I don't want to say prima donnas because they're not assholes, but these guys that have the labels, first round pick, all-stars, they're not hungry.
Yeah. And that seems like the story of the Orioles season so far. No hunger, no drive, no pride. They're not playing for each other. And until you start to see the gears shift a little bit, I think this team is just going to be stuck in that, 3 to 8 game below 500 mediocrity.
That's who they are.
Yeah. And they'll have an opportunity to come back home for 2 series. I'll be at the game on Saturday. I'll be at the game on Tuesday. I am undefeated at Orioles games this year, so hopefully I'll bring some of the good juju back. But yeah, I mean, we're just going to have to wait and see. But an upsetting loss nonetheless today. Hopefully they just go out and they can find a way to win a series at home against the Nationals, who embarrassed them only like a month ago. So we'll have to see, but that's going to wrap things up. Sorry, we didn't really talk about a lot of the things that I wanted to really dive into. I wanted to talk about all-star voting and Kyle Bradish's start on Monday and Basayo hitting 2 homers today and Alonso's good game. And I wrote the script when the O's were up 5-2, thinking that it would be like a positive, like, oh, they just won back-to-back series.
We had a great episode planned.
We had a great episode planned, and then obviously the O's just wanted to completely ruin that. So you guys can blame them for the negative show that we had today. But that's what we do here on Orioles Theory. We're raw, we're authentic, very opinion-based.
Shout out everybody in here too.
Yeah, shout out. Yeah, it's been great. But before we close things off, let me give one more quick shout out to our sponsor, O Squared Residential Design. Just like we build winning sports content, O Squared builds winning kitchens and bathrooms. They're woman-owned, family-operated right here in the state of Maryland. Excellence in every square inch. Check them out at osquaredesign.com. That's osquaredesign.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap things up here. Expect us to be live Sunday after the Nationals.
Clay will not be.
Well, all right, it may just be me solo then. But what I wanted to get into, though, is that we are doing a ticket giveaway for that game on Sunday at 1:35. Very, very nice seats. They're right behind the home plate line. If you look straight, you're viewing the first base line. You're right down the first base line, about 12 rows back. Very, very good seats. They're my season ticket seats, actually. So I collaborated with Wizards and Nationals on Roundtable to get you guys some good seats. All you guys have to do is go to our Instagram page or Twitter page, follow the steps below, and you guys will have a chance to win 2 free tickets to the Orioles-Nats game on Sunday. Obviously, if you guys don't want to go after the game that transpired today, I do not blame you. But we always want to give an opportunity for some of those that maybe can't afford tickets to these Orioles games to get out and watch the boys play. But that's going to be it for today's episode. Make sure to follow us on all socials at Orioles Theory on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. You guys can listen to the Orioles Theory podcast on all platforms, for the whopping price of free $99. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, we got you guys covered. For Tyler Barbaras, Clay Selgin, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out and go O's.
O's.